All right, let's look at the ATP phosphocreatine system. The ATP phosphocreatine system is going to be the most immediate energy system that we use to produce ATP. When you look at activities that use this energy system, you see the image that I have here. Football, any kind of strength and power sport will primarily use this energy system. So we think about football, baseball, even basketball will use this energy system. Any activity where you need explosion for a very short duration. So the duration, you think of sprinting. You're sprinting 100 meters, or let's say you've got an outfielder and he's in the outfield and the ball's hit in his direction. He's just not going to lollygag over there and hope he gets there. No, he's going to go all out. Or if you hit a ball in softball, the gals, if they hit a ball, they're going to be running full out to first base. We're talking 95 to 100% effort here. And what we see is we don't produce a whole lot of energy through this energy system. We produce 1 ATP per 1 molecule of phosphocreatine. I probably should have said that when we look at creatine is a compound that we get from meat. It's a amino acid derivative here, if you want to think of it that way. But it's a compound that we get through meat, and a phosphate combines with that in our cell, and then this phosphate is donated from this molecule, creatine phosphate. It's a one-step reaction where the phosphate is donated from the creatine here to ADP to regenerate ATP. So if you're looking at the process, it's for all-out activity of really 15 seconds, 10, 15, maybe even up to 30, but not really. When you get at that point, you're really kind of starting to overlap with the glycolytic energy system, but very high intensity, very short duration. So this just shows you, recreating ATP with phosphocreatine, where you get this one-step reaction here, where you've got the phosphocreatine through this enzyme creatine kinase. Creatine kinase is going to split the phosphate from the creatine, and then that phosphate is going to be donated to ADP to regenerate ATP. So you have one creatine phosphate that gives you 1 ATP. And what I want to show you next, and hopefully this will play, is an example of this energy system. When I've done prior live sessions, I haven't really shown this, and let's see if this will play, because this is an example. Let me describe. This is called the Wingate test, and this is one of my favorite videos to show. He's at a national conference, an ACSM conference here, where they're doing tests, and oftentimes what you'll see is they'll offer participants or people that are attending the conference to get on the bikes and actually do some trials. And so you'll see basically what happens is they have you pedal as fast as you can, and then when they're ready, they'll drop a load, and you'll see the weights over here. They'll drop this load, and you have to pedal all out for 30 seconds. So it's an all-out sprint on a bike, and they do multiple bouts of this. So let's see if we can get this to play. And I'm going to turn the sound down here. I don't know if you can hear that. So he's pedaling all out. Watch the weight. I guess they've already dropped the weight. And so he's pedaling all out as hard as he can go. And from this, you can actually get a lot of good data as far as total power output or maximal power output. And you can get how much work he does over the 30 seconds and how much as a percentage that he decreases as he goes from one test to the next, because he's not done. He'll do the second one, and you do this multiple times. In my classes, when I've done this in my classes, I've actually had a bucket. I had a bucket over here on the side, because this is such an intense effort that sometimes, not very often, the participants will get sick, and that's kind of part of it. And so this video is about 3 minutes long. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but you can see where he's going to do multiple trials. I think he actually does 4, and you can tell when he's down here in his 4th trial, he's just not putting out nearly the amount of power. So I just wanted to show you that. And this is exactly what we have here in this slide. We've got the ATP concentration and the phosphocreatine concentration during that all-out sprint. So think about this. Let's say we've got ATP here at 100% of resting value. That's what you have on this axis. And then time here at the bottom axis. Let's say we're at 100% here for stored ATP and then stored phosphocreatine. As soon as we take off, within that first 2 seconds, look what happens. The phosphocreatine stores drop to about 50%, and the ATP levels drop to about 80%. And then it continues to decrease at 4 seconds, at 6 seconds, at 8 seconds. You're down to about 20% of resting value, so you're 80% depleted here. 10 seconds, and you're down to nothing here after you get into the 10, 12, 15-second range. But look what happens. The ATP levels are maintained at 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, and it's not until you totally deplete your stores of phosphocreatine that's when the ATP levels really drop, when those phosphocreatine stores are basically depleted down to nothing. This is one of the reasons why people will supplement with creatine. Creatine is one of the, and we'll talk about it in a later module, but creatine is one of the products, one of the supplements that have actually been shown to work. No question about it. Any of these activities that require high intensity, all out effort, like weight training, if you're doing heavy lifting, now I'm not talking about doing sets of 10, we're talking about doing sets of 3 to 5 to maybe even the 6 up to 8 is the highest you would go on that, but really high intensity, short duration bouts of work. This is where ATP really comes into play. That wraps up the ATP phosphocreatine system. In the next section, we're going to look at the glycolytic system. And in the glycolytic system is where we use carbohydrate. We start using our macronutrients for fuel. So we'll see you in the next section.